Four key factors into creating a healthy relationship. Number one, foundation. Number two, growth. Number three, understanding that you are a whole and not a half, and that you guys are there to enhance each other's life, not to complete it. And number four, asking yourself if you are ready for a relationship and if you love yourself. I think that's the most important one. So, number one, foundation. And in foundation, there's a few key components that I think help create a strong foundation. Number one is communication. Number two is trust and faith. Number three is boundary setting. And number four is understanding that it won't always be 50-50 all the time. So, moving into communication. You have to communicate with your partner because you have to understand their dislikes and their likes. You have to understand that when you're communicating things, it's okay to tell them what you want and what is in your comfort zone. Moving into trust and faithfulness and faith. So you have to trust your partner that they won't break that. They won't break that trust. They won't break that faithfulness. They will be there for you when you need the support. They will have faith in you when you don't have faith in yourself. You have to understand that trust and faith tie in really well, because without those two, then how can you share life with a person if you can't trust them or have faith in them? Moving on to number three is setting up boundaries. Boundaries are super important because you have to set a line to your comfortability. If you're not comfortable with something, tell your partner. It's okay to let him know that, or let her know that you are not comfortable with something. Set that boundary, because just because they like it and you don't doesn't make it bad. It just makes a line that needs to be compromised with. You have to understand that boundary setting is a way to mitigate someone getting hurt. Number four in foundation is 50-50. A lot of people think that it's always going to be 50-50 every single time in your relationship. That is not always the case. In most cases, it's not even half the time. It's less, because everyone has an off day. Your partner will have an off day. You will have an off day. And there'll be time where someone needs to pick up the slack. You have to understand that sometimes it'll be 60-40. Sometimes it'll be 80-20. But that's where you come in with the communication and let them know, hey, I think we're kind of slacking a little bit. I think I'm putting more effort into the relationship, which usually isn't the case. Or just letting them know, hey, I think, we need to talk about certain things because I feel like I'm being more present in our relationship because you might be having an off day. Talk about it. Let them know. Communication is key to all those three things. Moving on to growth. We all have our own individual growth. But once you enter a relationship, it's not about you anymore. It's not even about them. It's about both of you and your relationship together. You guys will both have your own individual growth. But you need both those growth to help grow your relationship as one. So I think patience also ties in with growth, because you have to be patient with your partner. You guys are not walking the same path. You guys aren't, on the same level on every little aspect of your life. Someone could be more financially stable. Another person could be more healthy. In your path, you have to understand that you guys are walking two different paths. They could be similar, but they're not the same, because your childhood, your traumas, your experiences, your base on a good relationship is different. So you have to understand that we have to be patient. And when it comes to growth, there's support. You have to support one another, but you can't control one another. I have to stress that. You have to support one another, not control one another. You don't want to be that person that's, I want this, I want that in a relationship. It's not about you anymore. It's not. It's about you both and your relationship. Just because it's not going your way doesn't make it bad. You have to compromise and sacrifice. Just because someone likes to do a certain activity and you don't like it, doesn't necessarily mean that they have to stop doing it because you don't like it. Maybe you just don't have to be around it. You guys can compromise. It doesn't have to be an everyday thing. So you have to understand that it's not about your wants anymore. You can't control. And I think sacrifice is very miscommunicated in relationships. And I think a lot of people try to control that. If you were to sacrifice something, let's say your career and your passion, just because you sacrificed it doesn't mean your partner has to sacrifice it. The only reason you should sacrifice something is because you're doing it from a pure intention that you don't want an expectation for it to come back to you. If you're doing that, that is manipulation, because now later on you can use that as leverage in a fight or an argument, saying, oh, you remember when I sacrificed this? Remember when I gave up my passion? Remember when I did this and you can't even do that for me? That doesn't play anymore. That was your choice. Everyone has a choice in their relationship. They don't have to choose to sacrifice anything just because you sacrificed it. Let me say this again. If you're going to sacrifice it, make sure it's only coming from an intention of wanting to help and support them, not oh, I'm going to sacrifice it now, so next time in 2 years, they can sacrifice it for me. Remember, you guys are trying to help your relationship, not keep score in your relationship. Don't try to control your partner, support your partner. So I just wanted to stress that. And then moving on to the two halves. A lot of people get confused. They think that another person will complete them, that their twin flame or soulmate will come out of nowhere and complete that void that they're missing. No, I don't think that's true. The only person that can complete a void in yourself is you. No one can jump into you and fill that missing void. That just means there's something that you haven't resolved in your life, that you have a conditioning that you haven't resolved or fixed. You are not ever a half. You will never be a half. You are always a whole. So you are a whole, your partner's a whole, and you guys are there to enhance each other's life. That's it. And so that kind of moves into the last thing I want to talk about. Are you ready for a relationship? Do you love yourself? If you have a void missing in yourself, 9 times out of 10, you should not be in a relationship. It's just fact, because you cannot give yourself, you can't give 100% if you don't even have 100%. How can you do that? How can you love someone if you don't love yourself? So ask yourself, do I love myself? Am I ready? Am I ready to share my life with another person? Not just share it, but be present, listen, support, and just be there whenever they need it. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to sacrifice some things that you don't want to sacrifice? Are you ready to compromise on things? Are you ready to share your life with another person? Think about it before you get into another relationship or start one. So those are the 4 key factors that I believe are there to help create a healthy relationship. Foundation, growth, knowing that you are not a half and that you are a whole to enhance your partner's life. And 4, which is the most important, are you ready and do you love yourself? Thanks, guys. Have a great day.